Well, hello. Last minute thing, decided to go live, so I'll give it a little bit here for people to jump on. If you are in the chat or watching, let me know in the chat how the sound is. I always like to do a sound check. How's everybody doing tonight? How many of you watched the convention? I watched some of it this week. It's pretty crazy what's happened since I last was on live with the assassination attempt on former President Trump. And then just this crazy, who knows a week from now what our country looks like. It's just crazy. Every week it's something. So let's keep our nation in our prayers because Lord knows we need them. What a very tumultuous time that we are in. So most people actually watch these after I've gone live, but I like to make this interactive. So for those of you who want to reach out to me and talk in the chat, if you have any questions or comments, I love to kind of riff and just talk to people. Keith says, hey, everybody. Hey, Keith, how's the sound, by the way? I'm assuming it sounds good. Otherwise, you'd probably be saying otherwise. So I just want to give an update on a couple of things that have been happening. And I actually wanted to talk about, I actually had a phone conversation 2 nights ago with somebody who's pretty famous, has their own show on the History Channel. And thanks, Keith, for getting back to me. You say the sound is good. Great. Thumbs up. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I just want to kind of give a little background here. I'm not going to give too many details because we're still sorting it out, but I was talking to another pretty well-known YouTuber who's been on my show. And this person actually, he's a pretty well-renowned scholar, and he himself actually encountered the Bat Creek Stone 9 years ago and actually looked at it. And I said, would you be interested in doing something about the Bat Creek Stone? Because I noticed that, of course, that's a thing that makes its rounds in the Mormon world, the Mormon podcast world. I think Ward Radio did something about it. And I thought, we should do something about the Bat Creek Stone. And I'm going to get into what the Bat Creek Stone is. But I wanted a few more people to jump on in. And then before I got started on talking about the Bat Creek Stone, I wanted to kind of just give a little bit of a health update on how I'm doing. And then I'm going to talk about this really interesting guest that we'll be interviewing soon on Mormon Book Reviews about the Bat Creek Stone. This person thinks it's authentic, and this person is not a member of the church. By the way, I'm wearing a different hat. This is my friend Zeke with I'd Cap That. He is a social media influencer and a good friend of mine. He's really big on Instagram and on TikTok, I believe. And he's a severely wounded veteran, and he makes these for bars and restaurants. He makes these bottle cap artwork of their stuff, and it's actually quite good. And he goes around and speaks throughout the country. Don't forget, I do have my faithful MBR hat with me, and I do have a few other hats here I'm going to talk about too. Keith Silver says, Keith, you're active in the chat. Hey, everybody else, get back in the chat. Let's start talking to each other. If you have any questions, says, love your books. Thanks, Keith. All right, that's cool. Yeah, I love all my books. And here, I'll just give you a little tour here. So this is, these are these two big bookshelves I bought since I started the channel. And most of these books were sent to me by authors and publishers. This is the original bookshelf. So when you watch my first season of when I was doing book reviews, that was the bookshelf, and that was the extent of my collection. That was that size. So it's just in a little over 3 years, my it just exploded in the amount of stuff. And like I said, most of the stuff was given to me for free. So it's really cool. The nice thing about doing a channel that has book in the name of it, book reviews, is you don't have any trouble getting people to send you their books for free. So let me give you a couple examples of a few books that have been sent to me recently. Just today, I got in the mail To Stop a Slaughter, Just War in the Book of Mormon. It hasn't been published yet. This is an advanced reader's copy by Morgan Dean. And I just got this in the mail today. I've been talking to him. On Monday, I got from Greg Cofford Books, my good friend Cheryl Bruno wrote along with John S. Dinger, Come Hither to Zion, William Marks and the Mormon Concept of Gathering. I've been looking forward to this book for a while. I remember talking to Cheryl about that book last year at the Mormon History Association. And then last week, Oxford University Press sent me a copy of Matt Harris's book, Second Class Saints. Of course, Matt has been on my show. He was the second guest I ever had on Mormon Book Reviews. It's a really good interview. Only a couple hundred views because I had like 20 subscribers, maybe 40. I don't know if I even had 40 subscribers when I had him on. Okay, so Andrew SD says, finally in time for a live. Welcome, Andrew. I got a nice copy of Orson Pratt's The Seer. I really want to get Matthew Harris's new book. Yeah, it's I hear it's really good. And Matthew Harris is a good author. I had him on to talk about his Ezra Taft Benson book a couple of years ago. Keith Silver says I should get those books. Yeah, and they're all available except for the Just War one. That one will be coming out, I think, in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, so I get books, 2, 3, 4 copies of books in a week. I was just talking to another author on the phone about an hour before I went on live, who's actually was one of the original, co-wrote a book with Wayne May. It was like the very first book that really kind of described the Heartland model. Well, this guy has since moved away. He's no longer a Heartlander, but what he is he actually, and I'm going to interview him next Saturday, taping it next Saturday, is that he's kind of combined the Heartlander and the Mesoamerican models. So he's kind of taken bits from both of them and has built his own model of Book of Mormon geography and using both Heartland and Mesoamerica stuff. So that's a really interesting conversation I had with him tonight. And I had a conversation with Cyrus Simper, who is a young Mormon scholar who is going to be presenting at John Whitmer this September. And I just got off the phone with Cyrus 15 minutes before I hopped on the line, and he just had his tonsils removed, and so he's still only just eating pudding and ice cream. But Cyrus is a good guy. I met him actually for the first time last year at Sunstone when I was umping the softball game. Speaking of which, of hats, of course, Team Outer Darkness and Team Higher Law. I don't know if they're going to be doing a kickball tournament this year. I just heard that maybe they cancel it, but I'm gonna before we. I was supposed to go there to umpire it, and then I had to cancel because of my health. My ear doctor, I had an appointment with her on Monday, and she told me, she said, let's maybe see if you can get to your conference in September. She says, maybe August is too soon. This Thursday, I'm getting an MRI. I've got another doctor's appointment scheduled for next month, having some lab work done to be checked, because I think the hearing loss that I've experienced in this ear is the result of a virus or an autoimmune condition. So we got to figure out what's wrong with me. So it's probably better that I don't travel until, we kind of have an idea what the heck is going on with me. All I can say is I tell people, I said, imagine somebody's just screaming in your ear all the time, and you just got to train your brain to ignore it. Imagine interviewing somebody and asking them a question. They're giving you an answer, and now you're going to formulate the follow-up question while somebody's screaming in your ear. That's what it's like. Okay. Yeah, it's a miracle, honestly, that I'm even able to do this. It's a miracle I can shave or shower. All these things are just killing me. Even eating crunchy food. I went to church last Sunday for the first time in 3 months, and I'm grateful. I went to my pastor. I said, it's a miracle I was able to be here. I see some more stuff in the chat here. I'm going to answer your questions, but I also wanted to say that this Friday, I'm going to be interviewing Hannah Stoddard of the Joseph Smith Foundation. She's somebody that promised me 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, that she'd come on my program. And I'm really excited to have her on. She's a very interesting person, and she thinks that I'm a Nephite. And we're going to talk about that I am a evangelical Nephite, that I am biologically related to Nephi and Lehi. So that's an interesting thing I want to talk about with her. Let's see. Okay, so Andrew S.E. says, I recently learned that there is an Atlantis-type island model. It sank into the sea or something. Yeah. I've heard theories that, like, what people think in Yucatan, where the dinosaur, the meteor that hit there, that killed the dinosaur 65 million years ago. I've heard that some people believe that's where the city of Enoch was, and that's when it was taken, was from there. Have you guys heard that one? That's an interesting one. Keith Silver, do you sell hats and shirts? Yes, actually I do. And it's mormonbookreviews.com. I did get an email from them saying there's something going on with my processing. So on the payments. So you may not be able to order something right now. I got to fix that. But yeah, we got t-shirts, and we got hats and mouse pads and all sorts of different things. I don't really like to push merch or people donating too much, because I don't want people to feel like I'm trying to make, like, I'm not doing this for the money. I mean, I'm grateful for the money I bring in, but I'm not doing this for the money. I would do this for free. I'm grateful I bring in money. I'm grateful that we have good ad revenue with YouTube, and we have Patreons and people that can support me on PayPal and people that can support me on Venmo. Speaking of which, if you want, you can also donate in the chat right now. So if you want to get a shout out, you want to give $1.99, you want to give me 50, I've had people give me more. I mean, it's crazy, some of the stuff. But if you would like to donate to Mormon Book Reviews in the chat, you can do that right now as you're talking, and I will give you a shout out live on the air. So I've been interviewing a lot of people, setting up a lot of stuff, taking it easy. This is the second week in a row that I've done 3 episodes. Last week I did 3. This week I did 3. I haven't done that in 3 months. So I'm really, get a hold of me. I'll donate for you. Okay, Keith, give me your email address or more. My email address is mormonbookreviews@gmail.com. And if you email me, I can actually give you my cell phone number if you want to talk to me or whatever. So I got my tinnitus support group that I'm going to tomorrow. That's been fantastic. This will be my 3rd meeting. I'm so grateful that I have a team of doctors and specialists, psychiatrists, and everything that's been really helping me. I've been taking 50 milligrams of Zoloft, which is a very low dosage for that. It's just serotonin. And that's been very, very helpful for me. So I'm grateful for that. I was on an antidepressant for years called Wellbutrin, but about over a year ago, I put myself off of that because I'm not experiencing depression anymore. And even at the worst of this, I never really felt depressed like the deep dark depression I've did in the past. I was down, but I wasn't in a deep dark place. Okay, so let me see, make sure we just covered everything. So yeah, just keep me in your prayers. I do appreciate the prayers. I appreciate people reaching out to me. A lot of people, there's a lot of people that suffer tinnitus, and I just want to tell people that there are coping mechanisms that are available, and so there's psychiatrists, there's therapists you can see. Look for a tinnitus support group. There are different ways because the brain is making the sound. So if you can train your brain to ignore the sound, that's the key thing, is being able to do that. And I'm learning how to do it, and the fact that I'm doing this is amazing. So, okay, so let me talk about. Oh, and by the way, my mom will be back. She's been gone for a month. She first went up to the Chicagoland area where a lot of her family lives, and then she went and spent 2 weeks with her sister in Pittsburgh. The town she's in is just down the road from the town that the shooter's from in Western PA, so kind of crazy. So she'll be back in town on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to home cooked meals. She left me a bunch of frozen ones, but I actually had one tonight. So looking forward to having Mom back. And so I talked on the phone 2 days ago with Scott Wolter, who is the host of America Unearthed on the History Channel. And I reached out to him because I want to start talking about the Bat Creek Stone, whether it's authentic or not. So we've, there's another YouTuber that's going to be my co-host on this, and you would all know who he is. And he's the one that suggested that I reach out to Scott and these other people. So I'm reaching out to Scott and other people who've presented papers. Some saying that the Bat Creek Stone is authentic, and others that say that it's hoax. And we'd like to have like a conversation with the different camps and just kind of find out, because, and then I am, I want to explain what the Bat Creek Stone is a little bit. Now, this is just all off the top of my head. So, but there was this stone that was excavated by the Smithsonian Institute that had an inscription on it. And it was thought to be some type of Cherokee language. It was identified as a Cherokee language. Then, this is in the 19th century. Then in the 60s or 70s, somebody actually looked at the stone and realized that it was upside down, and that it actually was in Hebrew. It was actually a Hebrew inscription. And so that kind of course, people in the Latter-day Saint tradition would certainly have their ears perk up on something like that. So now there are others now that say that it was actually copied from a Masonic thing, symbol thing. And there's a paper that I was going through about that, and I was aware of that a while ago. And so a lot of your mainstream scholars consider the Bat Creek Stone to be a hoax. However, there are scholars who are non-LDS. There's a minority position that it is authentic, and so there are some scholars who think that way. So that it's kind of one of the stronger pieces of evidence of being pre-Columbian civilizations here before Columbus. And so that's one of the better pieces of evidence. But again, it's disputed. It's the context is, why aren't we finding other Hebrew objects? Some people think the Ohio Decalogue stone might be. Some others find that one not to be too convincing. But I think of all the stuff out there, I think, oh, Steve just paid me $50. Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate it. He often donates. He used Venmo, I think, or maybe he used PayPal. I always forget which one he uses. Oh yeah, Venmo. Yeah. And so thank you, Steve, for donating. And again, you can donate in the chat as well if you want to get a shout out. So I have always been interested in it ever since I was a little kid. You understand, like I love the stuff like the speculative stuff, like the Ohio Decalogue Stone, the Los Lunas Decalogue Stone, the Bat Creek Stone, the Kensington Rune Stone, all these things that and that indicate that maybe there are other different people here before Columbus. We all know the Vikings certainly were. That's no longer even in dispute. So it's always possible that there could have been this kind of stuff. Even Michael Coe, who's like one of the leading people, who's the leading critics of the Mesoamerican model, he really went after it. I even watched an interview with him where he says, I do think there was some diffusion. I do think that there was some Chinese influence on the Mesoamerican culture. So the idea of diffusion, which is the idea that you had old world people coming to the new world throughout history, it's not super fringy. That and we even using the idea of the Clovis first. They were the people who crossed in the land bridge, and they were now that's no longer accepted. Now they're pushing the dates even further back when people first started peopling the Americas. So I love new information. And so I talked to Scott on the phone for about a half hour. I just reached out to him. I emailed him and I called him and at his office, and within an hour, I'm talking to him on the phone. And I'll tell you, he's an engaging guy. He's a really interesting guy. He is a geologist. I mean, that's his career. So he uses the scientific method when he's dating these objects and stuff like that. So he makes, I'm agnostic in many ways about it, but boy, I said, well, so you think this, oh, it's absolutely real. No doubt about it. Like he is absolutely convinced that he has proven that the Bat Creek Stone is authentic. Well, that he comes to that with his strong opinion. I want my audience to hear what he has to say. He doesn't really know much about Mormonism. I asked him, do you know anything about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? He said, no, I really don't know much about it. He did mention, like, he heard there's like a Mormon Masonic stuff. And I said, well, there's this book called Method Infinite. And I sent him the link by my friend Cheryl and told him, you might want to check that out. And he texted me right back. He said, oh, this looks really interesting. So he'll probably pick up a copy of that. But he himself is a Mason. He himself is also a Knights Templar. And he has done a lot of interesting work. His American Unearthed show is very fascinating. It's kind of the speculative nature of that sometimes the History Channel engages in. But I think Scott, he's legit. He's not a crackpot. This guy has real credentials, and I think his work is fascinating. Now, like I said, I'm not 100%, one way or another on it, but I do think that the Bat Creek Stone is one of those things. It's an interesting object. It was professionally excavated. It appears to have been written in some form of Hebrew, and that wasn't discovered until later, until the 20th century. And this was by non-church members. So I think that it's worth another look, So, okay. Oh, Craig Sanderson gave $5. Thank you so much, Craig. Looks like I can hit the like button on that. Can I hit that like button? I'm not sure. Thank you, Craig, for the $5 donation. And let's see, might have left Babylon towards the east and north towards America. A lot of fakes out there. Okay, so yeah, so. So Keith Silver, he writes, I'm fascinated with the thousands of Michigan relics, Bat Creek Stone, and Decalogue. So did you watch my interview with Milton R. Hunter's grandson? His name's Greg Kovitz, I think, because his grandfather owned all the Michigan relics and donated them to the church. And we had a fascinating interview with him, so check that out. And Andrew says a lot of fake ones out there. Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I was talking to Scott Wolter, he told me that, like, the Burroughs Cave, as far as he's concerned, the Burroughs Cave, he studied all those objects. He said they're fake. Now, that's alleged cave in Illinois that allegedly contains ancient artifacts, but Scott's not too convinced of those to be real. I wonder what he thinks, if he knows about the Brewers Cave. He probably doesn't. And then Keith says, might have left Babylon towards the east and north towards America. Yeah, so there's a lot of different speculations, like, okay, like, who all different civilizations coming. A lot of people have their pet theories. A lot of people think that African Americans might have been in South America. The Chinese came here before Columbus, and so it's speculative, but it's interesting. And I think nobody really I think human beings we're essentially the same. We're the same as we've been for hundreds of thousands of years. We're the same brains and everything like that. So people from 40, 50,000 years ago had, as human as us. And so if they're capable, look at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. These were hunter gatherers that apparently built this these structures that appear to be ceremonial. That dates back to civilization way further back, that they could build those structures. So we're constantly rewriting history with new evidence. Let's see. Keith Silver says, oh, I'm an ex-JW. That's Jehovah's Witness. I've been fascinated with LDS. I own very many LDS Mormon books. Keith, are you familiar then with this book, Crisis of Conscience, The Struggle Between Loyalty to God and Loyalty to One's Religion, by Raymond Franz, who was part of the governing body. He was part of the leadership. This is a really good book. I read this probably 20 years ago, and I found another copy about a year ago. So, yeah, it's a good book. I've had other people point that out. Oh, you've got Crisis of Conscience. Oh, nice, Keith. I just got a set of studies in Scripture. I collect old Jehovah's Witness books as well. Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses stuff is really stuff that I've done a lot of study of that faith as well. I'm actually a very good friend whose brother works at the Bethel, the headquarters in New York. Okay, let me go through my list, make sure I got everything. I was supposed to originally tape an interview this Tuesday with Jacob Hansen of Thoughtful Faith, Thoughtful Saints. We're going to bump that up. He's getting ready for a debate with Steve Horn, who's a Catholic apologist. But I'm going to go on Jacob's show later this month, or sometime in August or something, to talk about my interesting relationship with Mormonism. And I said, kind of like how I'm in some ways a fanboy of the Restoration and even of Joseph Smith, and I'm an evangelical, which you're not supposed to do that. So we're going to have that kind of conversation as well. And Keith says, yes, so Ray, I knew as a child. Okay. Raymond Franz. Yeah, I think he died like just a few years ago, right? Wasn't it just within the last 10 years? See, it was a really good book, So yeah, you bring in a lot of interesting people, into these chats and into these rooms and stuff like that. I always like to have these conversations. I love doing the live stuff. I love giving shout outs to people. Okay. Just checking my phone here. I thought somebody else was making another donation. But yeah, I don't know. I just been, July is usually is my slowest month. July and December are my two slowest months of the year when it comes to views for the channel. And this has been a real down month. I'm just getting back on track here. And so this has been a pretty slow month for views and stuff like that. So the channel's not doing super well. And in March, when I had my best month, and the rate that the channel was growing, I was figuring that we'd be at 10,000 subscribers by this month, and we're hanging at 8,500. Well, because I basically was on sabbatical, if you will, for 2 months, I put this thing on the back burner for 2 months. So it really cut back on the growth of the channel. So I would love to get to 10,000 subscribers. The sooner the better, because when you hit 10,000, it opens up more options as a YouTuber. You reach certain levels. Once you hit 10,000 subscribers, you're no longer considered a small YouTuber. So I looked at it and they tier it. And basically anybody from 1,000 to 10,000 subscribers is considered a small YouTuber. But when you hit 10,000, other things open up for you. Other tools are afforded to you that I would love to be able to use. Yes, and Keith says JWLDS are very familiar. And you said, and you said your father was in all new friends. Okay, that's interesting. Small world. Okay, let me think. Okay, anybody have any questions or comments? This is the time. If you ever wanted to ask me a question or ask my opinion on something or anything, hop in the chat. I'll be hanging around for a few more minutes. Again, if you'd like to donate and get a shout out, this would be the time to do it as well. I really enjoy these conversations. I love doing live stuff. I don't have to plan too much. I can just write down a few notes 5 minutes before, talk to my homies, my friends. I really appreciate everybody. I appreciate all the people that reach out to me. I actually had Hayden Paul of the Paul brothers of Stick of Joseph. We had a nice conversation yesterday. And a lot of people just, checking up on me. And I like to do that to people too. Is like, I reached out to another YouTuber last week, just tell her, hey, how you doing? I would think it's really important that when people are going through stuff, it means a lot when you're suffering. for people to reach out to you. You know, I had Claire of the Clarity podcast on my program, and she suffers from chronic condition, and we talked about suffering on our episode. And so I'm going to go on her program and talk about suffering and the importance of people who you know that are suffering in your life. It's really important to reach out to them, and you know, because most people when they suffer, they're suffer in isolation, and that's just sad, and they're often they feel abandoned by family and friends. So just keep people in your life close to you that are suffering, and you know, reach out to them. Let's see here. Okay, Keith says, I'm reading Deliverance, 1926, Rutherford right now. That Judge Rutherford was the guy who took over after Charles Taze Russell, who was the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Andrew says, what credentials does Hannah Stoddard actually have? She presents herself as a historian. No. Yeah, she does a lot of research. Matter of fact, here's a couple of her books. These here, Faith Crisis book, and then Sir Stone versus the Urim and Thummim. This was sent to me by the Joseph Smith Foundation. And so, yeah, she would be more of an amateur historian because she doesn't have like, I don't think she has a degree in history, anything like that. But yeah, she does some interesting stuff. She's very, very smart. I actually was talking to another YouTuber who tells me, he says, you know, I don't agree with her conclusions, but she does do her homework. And so, and Hannah's very, very smart. So yeah, and so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Joseph Smith Foundation. We're going to talk about her father, who founded it and then passed away 2 years ago. It was kind of a shocker. He was kind of up and coming and getting big, and then all of a sudden, Hannah basically is raising the kids and running the organization, and it's kind of an interesting story. Just a story to be told, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna have Hannah come on. So yeah. So Riches in 1936. Okay, so yeah, so folks, when I often interact with the chat when it's live, and I love to do that. So, but most of you watch this after I stream, and so I try to make sure I'm relevant to both audiences. And just remember, I hop on. I was doing Fridays pretty frequently, and then I put that on hiatus. I've done the last 2 Fridays. I don't know if I'm going to do every single Friday. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do 3 episodes every single week, but that's my goal. And I like doing this. I like talking to people. By the way, I talked to Josh Gailey of the Church of Jesus Christ on the phone yesterday, and they got a bunch of these extra editions, these small editions of the Book of Mormon. And I said, you know, can you send me like a case of these, a few dozen? I said, because I'd love to be able to give these as a gift to people, like to other Christians or to like the missionaries. It's kind of cool because this is published by the Church of Jesus Christ and the Bickertonites in Monongahela, Pennsylvania. I didn't know how to pronounce Monongahela when I first started this channel, but I do now. And I have this really, so he's going to send me these, and I'm going to use these as like a, you know, just a kind of a cool thing, you know, and even go to like I'll go to like evangelicals and I say, this was published by Pentecostal believers in the Book of Mormon, and see how they respond to that. I love it. I love the Bickertonites, the Church of Jesus Christ, and they have the Words of Christ in red. So it's a red letter edition, Book of Mormon. So I'll be getting a stack of those babies soon. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to be taping with Josh and Robert Messick of the Book of Mormon Editions channel this Tuesday. We'll be taping about the Bickertonite Book of Mormon and their editions. So that's going to be really cool. And Josh is wanting to maybe have the church do another edition. So maybe down the road they'll do a newer one. Okay, so Andrew says, Steve, I recently received the Strangite Book of the Law and the 1835 Doctrine and Covenants published privately in 2000. Beautiful copies. Oh, that is cool. I love that. Let me see. I got. Oh yeah, here. This is really cool. This is a replica Book of Commandments from 1833 that was sent to me, and it's pretty. It hardly opens up, you know, but I'm really careful with my stuff. But isn't that cool? You know, it's just, and this is a cool replica. So yeah, I got all different types of books of Mormon and different things. And like I said, most of the stuff was sent to me. So it's always kind of cool. So yeah. Okay. Well, I am going to sign off here in a minute. Unless anybody wants to make a donation, go for it. Please, I love if people have any questions or comments, please feel free. I like to have this open forum where I'm accessible to people. A lot of you, email me, and sometimes, there are times where I'll just get like a ton of messages, or I'll get like messages on Messenger, and then on Facebook, and then on Reddit, and then on my emails. And sometimes I'll have every intention to respond, and then it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. So for people who have reached out to me about coming on the program, or who have sent me books in the past, reach out again, because I tell people I don't book the guests book themselves on this channel. So those are the most persistent, are the ones that are going to get on here. And I like to hear all different people. So either way, okay. Well, I think I am going to close it up tonight. So again, we're going to be interviewing Scott Wolter of America Unearthed, History Channel host, geologist Dr. Scott Wolter. I had a great conversation with him 2 days ago. Very interesting guy. Has really strong opinions. He's going to be a great guest. You're going to love him. And what do you think of the Bat Creek Stone? Do you think it's authentic? I'm skeptical of stuff just in general. But I do find it interesting that they thought something that was written in Cherokee. So it's like if you're going to make a replica or fake something, and you're going to go through the trouble of writing down Hebrew, and then it gets misidentified as Cherokee, that just seems strange. Like if you're making something that wants to purport to make something that's Hebrew in origin, and you go through the time of going through and finding some Hebrew script and copying it, wouldn't you try to find a way to make sure that no, that's not Cherokee, that's Hebrew? That's always been something that's been interesting to me. Like, why wouldn't that person, if they were faking it, why wouldn't they have made sure that no, it's not Cherokee, it's Hebrew? Don't know about that. So either way, well, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Everybody's traveling. It's really busy. It's always been a down month for me. So I just really feel it's important to stay in touch with people, talk to everybody, like to hop on for like 30, 40 minutes at a time, and just kind of get a feel for where everybody's at. I want to thank we'll put links in the description. I forgot to put links in the description on this video, but I will do that. And you can support us on Venmo, PayPal, or Patreon. The fact that I haven't been traveling this year, haven't done any traveling this year, actually I've built up quite a bit of money in the bank, which is good, because usually when I take a trip, it's it pretty much depletes all my funds, and I got to build it up over the course of a few months to kind of take the next trip. Because last year I was traveling on average every 2 months, 3 trips alone to Utah. So, all right. Hold on. Let me make sure. It looks like somebody else might have written something. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So thank you. I'll get out to you. Smithsonian placed it upside down on Will, or I'm saying it purposely, maybe. I don't know. And Andrew says, thank you, Steve. Be well. All right. Thank you, everybody, for all your love and your prayers. Make sure you give a thumbs up to this video, because that will get it further exposure as well. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have all your notifications turned on, because there are times where, when I was breaking the story about the Kirtland Temple that week, I think I went on 6 episodes that week, and I think 3 or 4 of them were live. So when I have a breaking news story, and I'm working on a few things, cooking on a few things. So be aware that this is the channel where a news story could break at any time. And that happened with the Kirtland Temple, and that will not be the last time that we'll be breaking news. I'm working on a few things. So thanks again for everybody. Thanks for participating in the chat. It was great to hear from you. I hope everybody has yourself a wonderful weekend. God bless. Remember, all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.